Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and this one is a philosophical thought that I had at the end of my shift at work today. And just being down this rabbit hole of the virus for over a year now, I'm really sick of it, first of all. I don't think I don't think these things are gonna end, or these issues. But I was thinking today, as far as how people view things, and I think people have a different philosophy about health and wellness, that it really lies at the roots of what's going on right now with all this. And to give you an example, some people, just back in the day, people lived their lives, sometimes it was short and brutish, and they got sick with whatever and they died or whatever, or they didn't, and they were strong or they weren't, and they just kind of lived their lives. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't care about other people or their family or even social justice, for that matter. But now we have a society that values safety over everything else, values feelings of safety over everything else. And it's an illusion when the chaos is right at our front door all the time. So I was just thinking that a lot of people have this, there's a spectrum of, just like there's spectrums in everything else in life, like sexuality or, whatever, politics. There's a spectrum of what's acceptable and what's not as far as your own health and wellness and others. So when people talk about selfishness or all these things about that, we've got to consider that a lot of people have a different philosophy about a lot of different things, like with regards to this. Now, I'll just tell you what my philosophy has always been, because I've never been that concerned with if I got sick once or twice a year or whatever. I was just, what happened, I've never had the flu shot. If I got seriously ill, it's like, I don't think I've ever been seriously ill before. I've suffered from more mental things over the years than physical things for the most part. I have a really skinny arm, holy shit. Yeah, and I've never thought about it like, when I'm sick, I'm sick. Other people are gonna get sick. I know it's gonna happen. It's not so, like I sit here and think, oh my God, I'm gonna have to hide from people forever because I'm sick. I think most people just live their daily lives before this whole crisis. Just, you got sick, you got a cold. Oh, I'm gonna go visit my friend. He doesn't want to get sick, but he'll tolerate it because he thinks he might be coming down with something anyways, or, oh, I'm not feeling that good, I'm gonna go home, blah, 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 or whatever. And, like when I was working at the call center, hard to believe it's been so long since I've been in that fucking place. And we, what would happen was, I didn't want to go home if I felt a little sick, unless the whole attitude is oh, we gotta work, I have to work. I don't want them to think, because I used to call in sick at a previous job all the time, and in a previous job. And I got fired from that job, not because of that, but it was one of those things where I'd call in sick 9 times a year and shit. 9 times, like Ferris Bueller, yeah, exactly. So I was like, I'm gonna try to stay and stick it out, man. I never thought about other people. I'm self-absorbed in some ways, but I'm not selfish in that way. It's like, oh shit, I didn't know I got someone else sick. It just didn't cross my mind. So what would happen was, I'd stick it out for a half an hour. And this is even back when we had the closed cubicles. This is bleach, by the way. It's not a stain of anything. It's not some gross food or something like that. It's bleach because I was cleaning my apartment for an apartment inspection, as you probably saw in one of my previous videos. I got some bleach on my Misfit shirt. So, I would stay at work, and then I'd be like, no, I'm gonna go home. And then they finally said, oh yeah, you got all these sick days. Because I'd be paranoid about them being mad about me not, about me not staying. So, this is my typical pattern, what I used to do. I'm just being honest, when I got sick. So I'd go maybe get some like fast food, like Taco Bell, and then go to Walgreens and get like ibuprofen, orange juice, water, and maybe a treat or whatever. And then I go home in my bed and watch Netflix and eat Taco Bell or watch a movie or whatever and just lay in bed and get over my illness. Usually it'd be 1 to 3 days. I'd be over it. But now we have a society where it seems like because of the crisis we're in, if someone gets sick, it's like, oh my God, they're sick. It's like, you know, we have to view these things that, you know, it's like, what are the risks and what are the chances? And it's controlled by the germaphobes. Seem to have won. The lunatics have taken over the asylum, and I'm not saying that. And I realize what time we're in, what's going on, but I worry about this lasting well beyond this. Like anytime someone gets sick, people freak out, and you know all this stuff, and that's why it's so disheartening to see what's been going on Twitter and elsewhere about this whole thing. And I'm not, and it includes people that have had you know what. It's like we're like just, but I think some of the paranoia, some of the craziness is from people that are just naturally like that about stuff. Like people that I've known, you know, been like, oh my God, oh, you know, it's like there's a spectrum of types of people. So, you know, going back to the bubble people from earlier last year, those types of people probably weren't as paranoid about stuff. They were very concerned about the virus, but they weren't like obsessed about it like some people that would be wearing fucking gloves when they're walking down the street and stuff, or like masking in their car, right? So I think there's a certain thing to be said about like there's a certain neurosis involved with some of the people that are pushing these things. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be anything done about it or anything like that or denying it. I'm just saying that there's a spectrum of behaviors and ideas, and that's why people are. It's like almost like the opposite ends of this spectrum are at each other's throats, and they're fighting, and they're taking everybody. They're nuking everybody else right now in the discourse. They're like, everybody else is out. And I've become more of a moderate on the subject. I'll admit it, but like I said, like I don't believe that we need to go back to what we were doing before necessarily, because it's not working. To me, it's not working. Looking back on what's happening, it's not working. Why go back to that? Why not find a different way, a way outside the box to handle this stuff? So that's like kind of what I'm thinking. But like, people have different views on this. People have different views, and they're not necessarily. It's like abortion. Okay, abortion is like someone thinks it's murder, right? Someone thinks it's not murder. These people aren't some evil, the person that thinks it's murder is not an evil person. The person that doesn't think it's murder is not an evil person. I'm sure some viewers might disagree, but same with everything else, like what your health choices are in general. You might think, oh my God, I'm risking other people, and then someone would be like, well, we're all going to get this anyways. Like I talked to this guy a year ago at this comic book store that I really like going to. I'll keep mentioning in videos. But yeah, we just can't, we have to try to come to terms with all this stuff, because people are at each other's throats, and more extreme people on both sides of the argument are taking over the discourse. And that's the problem. And, when people are calling for, and of course, I'm still on that side. I'm still on the side. I'm more moderate now, but I'm still on that side of people that care about liberty and justice. Well, liberties, civil liberties, and what the direction of our society is. Because I don't want to see that we're this paranoid. We become this paranoid bunch of phobic people. I mean, Francois Ballou on Twitter was talking about this type of society that's beyond dystopia. It's like a fear-based society, and I'm really afraid of that happening. It's like, I'm afraid of the fear. But yeah, it's really something we need to look at. But we need to come to terms with this stuff. We're not gonna get out of this in a very good way if it keeps going the way it is with the discourse how it is. and people are so at each other's throats, and nobody wants to listen to anybody. And yeah, I'm on the other side. I'm on the right side of this, right wing side more of the whole crisis. You know, I don't know what it's going to take for me. Oh, people died in the streets, maybe. Oh, you know, no, I am more on that side because I get concerned with just the abuses of power and the hypocrisy that our leaders have had, and they're backtracking, backsliding every fucking minute. Just admit you don't know shit. If Mr. 80-year-old Italian man himself came out and said, "We don't really know what's going on. We never did, but we're just trying to do the best we can. That's all. And we apologize." Hesitancy would go down. Hesitancy, you know. It's not heroin, but you know, it's the other person doing it, you know. Anyways, hesitancy would go down and trust would go up if they just admitted that they fucking fucked up. All our leaders. But nobody wants to do that. They just want to grandstand. They just want to attack other people. They just want to fight. They want to argue. They want to win this war, this battle, this information war, whatever, you know. And that's really a sad state of affairs in our society. But yeah, I do get afraid of fear being the driver of our society. And yeah, I never gave a shit when I got sick with the flu. I went to fucking Walgreens. I went, you know, New Year's Eve, or was it New Year's? Yeah, New Year's Eve, New Year's of January of 2020. I went out with my ex-girlfriend to a show, and I felt sick, but I went, you know, and this is why I think I had, you know what, because it kept going for like 2 weeks, this whole thing, and I got really sick like the next week. So who knows? But it is kind of one of those things like, oh, well, I went out there, you know, I didn't care, blah, 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 I was sick, and I'm not feeling that bad, because we didn't view things like that same way back then. But I worry about us just like viewing this forever like this, like we have to quarantine just because we have the sniffles or something like that in the future, and that really fucking bothers me. They're restructuring the whole society out of this fear when there's just, you know, there's been a lot of proof that that's not, I will still say, this is not, period, this is not as bad as it could be. I don't care what people say, what numbers people throw at me. I know that's the truth. I don't fucking care, right? I know it's bad for some people. I know there's people that aren't part of that, some people too, that are the exception to the rule, that it's bad for too. But I'm not going to say that this is as bad as people have said it is, or even as half as bad as it could be, because it's not, period. But yet I'm an evil asshole for saying that, but I do think it's bad for some people, and I do think it's something that we have to do something about. Okay, so where does that put me on this weird part of this graph, right? So, but I don't think that we should fucking destroy our society out of fear, destroy people's lives, you know, destroy people's well-being, throwing people on the street, you know, because they couldn't get their shit together, you know, with all this whole thing. I don't think we should do that. And it's really looking bad. This contentious world of it with regards to this. Nobody knows what the truth is anymore. Nobody knows what is going to happen. Everybody's scared. And maybe it's like, you know, when back in the day when Tom Ridge would come out with these color-coded fucking warnings about the terrorists and stuff, and maybe that's what it's going to be like from now on. This phantom thing that's always there, but maybe it's overblown, maybe it's not. I don't know. I think it's been overblown to some extent. Sorry to say, but I don't think it's not there. It's the same with 9/11. It's like, okay, 9/11 happened, but are we gonna fucking like worry that the next door neighbor is a terrorist just because they had like a fucking turban on or whatever? Like this actually happened to our society. We became so fucking like fearful that anything all this propaganda, 24, which is a great show if taken into context, but all these all this bullshit, all this propaganda for so long. That's why I don't buy into the fear propaganda, because fear is being used for something. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it is benevolent, and it's like because people, they are concerned with the people. Maybe they're concerned with the people and they are influenced by, BIGPHARMA, right? Maybe it's a mixture of both. Maybe they do concern, but this other thing, this organization is saying this, whatever. Maybe it's all that. I don't know. Hopefully this video is okay to post, because I'm not making any claims. I'm just talking about the philosophy of this shit. So I don't want our society to become based on safetyism. And cancel culture has had to do with this too, because as we've said, if you say something wrong that the experts don't like, they'll say you're misinformation, or people will shame you for saying stuff. I've been shamed a little bit. I've been called names on YouTube and stuff, or on various places. I've had this shit. I probably had the shit itself, and I've had the shot shit too. So, but yeah, I don't know what to do about this. It bothers me. I just say I will probably engage in protest if they do try to close down again, and the metrics look ridiculous to do so. That's about all.